Turkey's presidential election will head to a runoff on May 28th after no candidate achieved the 50% of the vote required to win the presidency. The country's longtime incumbent leader, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, will face his main challenger, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. Preliminary results show Erdogan outperformed expectations, winning 49.5% in Sunday's vote. Kılıçdaroğlu won nearly 45%. For more on this, I want to bring in Steve Simon. He's a senior research fellow at the Quincy Institute. He also served as a senior director for the National Security Council under Presidents Clinton and Obama. Steve, what are we to make of the outcome? Was it close in the sense that Erdogan was a 20-year incumbent, or is a runoff a big win for Erdogan because the economy is weak, his administration looked weak in the wake of the earthquake, and maybe he should have done worse?
Well, you know, he's got a strong base. His support weakened slightly across the country, and you could see that in the poll results. But in fact, it wasn't weakened decisively. He lost most heavily along the southern coast in Istanbul and around Ankara, the country's capital. But in most of, and he lost votes too in the far east of Turkey. But for the most part, he did pretty well and outpaced Kılıçdaroğlu quite handily. So I wouldn't say that he really did that poorly, and he's widely expected to win the May 28th runoff. And, you know, the 5% or so difference in this first round is not insignificant. You know, in the United States context, that would count as a landslide. And many Turks voted. There was a well over 80% voting rate. Now, it's true that Erdogan has made some serious mistakes. Turkey's economic performance has plummeted. Inflation is high. Corruption looks out of control. And economic management had been handed by Erdogan to his family, which you know, intensified concerns about both competence and corruption. So you know, he's made some serious errors, and as you point out, the earthquake and the handling of the earthquake right after it seemed to demonstrate that the Erdogan government didn't quite have their act together. That made him look pretty bad. So you know, he lost votes for that reason.
Steve, help me understand how an election in the context of Turkey and Erdogan's running of Turkey, which is often referred to as an illiberal democracy. So, as we talk about an election, how does that illiberality, how is that reflected in the election and the state of things in Turkey right now?
Yeah, well, in the case of Turkey, when people say a liberal democracy, it means that Turkey maintains the structures of democratic government, but they're hollow. Now, Turks still go to the polls, which is, you know, astonishing, you know, in some respects. But in an illegal democracy, the president or the ruling power can use his or her authority as the ruler to make it very difficult for the other candidate to win. And he can do so by monopolizing the media, by exercising laws in ways that curtail civil liberties and make it difficult for the other candidate to do what he needs to do in order to win an election. So you've got that, and you know, he's got other capacities that any incumbent would use, I think, in any country. He's got great economic power, so he's in a position to give raises and to do economic things in communities that are most hard hit by inflation.
And just before
this is something that his opponent can't do.
And that's what I was just wanting to ask you quickly before we run out of time is, does the U.S. have a view? U.S. national security interests are affected how, depending on who wins in this election?
Well, Erdogan and his opponent had staked out very different positions on the United States and NATO. and also the war that's going on now between Russia and Ukraine, in which NATO and the United States have taken a substantial role. Erdogan's opponent said that he was going to turn Turkey back to its previous stance as a strong ally of the United States and of NATO. Erdogan, on the other hand, was playing the nationalist card, but such that, in his view, Turkey's independence from the United States and from NATO really had to be demonstrated. And no better way to demonstrate than to block the expansion of NATO and get close to Russia in the middle of this crisis. So the United States does have a serious interest in this, but I think Washington will be disappointed.
Steve Simon, Senior Research Fellow at the Quincy Institute and former National Security Council Senior Director. Thanks so much.
Thank you.